When I think of the Neptunes, I think of the Korg Triton, of course, that legendary synth that they use for their signature productions. I think of their signature hard-hitting or smooth-hitting drums and their amazing percussion. And I think of a couple of my favorite jams in both R&B and hip-hop. And that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be making a Neptunes type beat. Yay! The Neptunes are one of those producers that are universally loved, and that also means that the pressure is on just a little bit. I mean, I'd hate to be the YouTuber known for making a shitty Neptunes type beat, but I figured that with the ingredients I have and the way this beat turned out, we're gonna be just fine. So in this video, we're going to be using the Korg Triton for all of our sounds, and we're going to be using a Neptune drum kit, which is mostly based on the sounds of a Korg Triton, but there's a couple of specific sounds that I really was only able to find in that drum kit. Alright, beautiful folks, welcome back into FL Studio. It's a beautiful day to make beats, and it's an even better day to break down this Neptunes type beat. You can see that I have a sample consisting of 7 layers, and the layers underneath are basically just drums and percussion. So let's break down the sample first, and after that we're going to discuss how I laid down the drums. So everything I did in terms of chords and melody is practically from the Korg Triton, and the drums are mostly based on Korg Triton drums as well, but like I said, there's a specific sound that I wanted that I was only able to find in the kit. So I took out one of the signature patches that the Neptunes use, which is this strato chime. Of course, sounds like this. You've heard this on Frontin', you've heard this on other songs, you may have heard this on Hot In Here as well, and you know, it's basically just one of their signature patches. So I went ahead, I played a basic little chord progression, which sounds like this. The chords are pretty vanilla. One thing that you may notice is that I went for a C sharp minor 7 with a sharp 5 as opposed to a regular C sharp minor 7. I thought that just added some, you know, a cool little smooth flair, because nobody expects to have a chord with a sharp 5. So that's how I spice it up. And I think that a lot of the strength of this little chord progression comes from the little notes, the little short licks that are being played in between. You got kind of like this staircase movement right here, which I really like. So yeah. And one thing of course needs to be said, if you're listening to this chord progression and you're wondering, yes, my favorite song is indeed Frontin'. I had that chord progression down, and you know, it just really put me in a good mood. So I decided to immediately supplement that with a little guitar melody right here on the second pattern, and I stumbled across that dope synth lead patch, which is the come on, load. The smooth sine lead, the name already implies it. It's a very smooth sine lead. Sine leads are generally amazing if you want to get smooth leads going on. And that's how I eventually got to this. I was absolutely falling in love in this beat, and I hadn't even started yet. Everything after that was just simple layering of the chord progressions. I thought it would be appropriate to introduce strings, so I went back into the Chord Tritons. I took out the largo violins patch right here, and I also supplemented it with an electric piano, which is the sweeping electric piano patch. These are all very basic, and I didn't do anything to process them. I mean, if I look at my mixer track, I think my processing on these is absolutely minimal, so that means that I thought they sounded good out of the box. So that's basically it for my sample. Well, there's a little thing that I need to touch on. Hold on. Now this right here is a cool patch as well. I'm gonna play it in solo so y'all can get an idea of what it sounds like. So it's a cool combination between a normal clavichord patch and it sounds like it's mixed with a vocoder. And I decided to introduce that in very specific parts of my beat, namely around the time of the second chorus, because I want it to be something that sets the first hook apart from the rest of the beat. So if I play the sample in full during the hook, it sounds like this beautiful thing right here. You can see me do my little hand finger like I'm kind of a conductor thing, but I'm really just enjoying the hell out of this sample. So one thing that I've noticed listening to the productions of the Neptunes, mostly based on what they produce for Jay-Z, for example, and Gwen Stefani, and a little bit of Jadakiss, and of course Nelly, when they make their smooth beats that are kind of bordering on the line of pop, R&B, that kind of stuff, mainstream music, it sounds very light and it sounds very open in the sense that the elements aren't, you know, very big on the mid frequencies. There's nothing clashing really. It sounds like everything has its own space, but the sounds sound thin. I feel that if you contrast it with contemporary R&B, everything is kind of in your face, and that might also be due to how, you know, music has developed to be more in your face, to be more captivating, since everything's more competitive. But I like the openness and the airiness of their productions, and I feel that a lot of the in your faceness, because it is still necessary, comes from the fact that their drums are so smacking. So this was just an elaborate way for me to say, let's get into the drums and the percussion. So when it comes to drums, I keep stressing a lot of it is actually from the Korg Triton drum kits right here. Let me just open up the Chord Triton. You can just go to the Browse tab and go to drums, and it's mostly the Orchestra and Ethnic kit, which you can get all those cool perks from, which are also used in like Darkchild's R&B Beats, for example. But there's the hip hop kit, of course. There's the Psycho kit, which has some dope effects. The standard kit, the BD and the bass drum and snare drum kit 2 and 1, of course. So they're mostly from there. However, big shout outs to the Lunch 77, of course, for being the actual plug. I just might have to renounce my name and give it to him, because, well, I guess I didn't kind of feel like opening up another instance of the Korg Triton to get my drum sounds. I thought that was a really tedious, so I just downloaded the kit. With that being said, I think that anybody that has listened to a Neptune song knows this kick and this snare. I think there's a Jadakiss song that has used this. I think there's a Gwen Stefani song that has used this. I think there's a couple of Justin Timberlake songs that have used this combination. So it kind of works. So let's play it all in context with, of course, a very simple bass line, and it now sounds like this. So what I feel like doing right now is just gradually introduce you to all the percussion that I added. But I want to say that listening to their most popular songs, they are big on percussion, like it's a fundamental part of Neptune style productions. However, the percussions are not in the forefront. They don't really take center space. They're there as very pleasant supplements to the groove of the beat. In other words, you don't have to put them up front. They need to be a little bit more subtle. You don't have to fill the spaces between the kick and the snare with an overload of perks, like say you would with New Jack Swing, for example. So let me just introduce you to this one, and we're gradually going to start building up. And then comes this one right here. So let me do you beautiful people a solid. Let me just play all of the drum sounds individually. So this is my kick. It says Britney kick because there is, of course, an amazing Britney Spears song that has used this one. This snare, you've probably heard this snare before. This one kind of sounds like a snap, but I think it's actually just something like hitting a wooden surface. Bongo or djembe, I don't quite know. Bongo or djembe, I don't quite know. This one, of course, in the orchestra and ethnic kit of the Korg Triton, and this shaker. You gotta get your shaker patterns on if you're making a Neptunes beat. So that's all my drum sounds. So I feel that I did an amazing job, and I'll keep it a stack with y'all. I didn't take long for this beat because everything came to me so organically, and I think that that is just the benefit of not just wanting to make a Neptunes beat, but being a fan of their music and being a student of the game. So I guess I can safely say that I don't have to be afraid that I'm gonna be the one that's made a shitty Neptunes beat. I think that I did quite alright. But y'all let me know about that in the comments. Now, of course, there's the finishing touch, and I'd almost say that if you really want to encapsulate that Neptunes vibe, this is what you gotta do. You gotta have your 4 count at the beginning of the song. You gotta get your gotta get that on. So that's exactly what I did. I just took this chord, I just took this pattern, I chopped it up, I put it here in place, 4 beats, let's fucking go. So beautiful folks, with that being said and done, I hope y'all enjoyed this quick and concise breakdown of me attempting to make a Neptune style beat. And if you enjoyed this beat, let me know in the comments. And if you have any other feedback, I'd be happy to hear that. But most of all, if you enjoyed this video, like, share, and subscribe, because your boy would definitely appreciate that. I think the final tip that I would give is if you want to recreate styles from the past or the present, you know, study them by being a fan first. That's mostly important. I mean, you can get the sounds, the synths, the drums, and fake it till you make it, but in order to really get that vibe down, you gotta be an extensive listener of the music, or at the very least, just be a fan. Beautiful folks, with that being said, I hope y'all enjoyed this video, and I'm gonna see y'all in the next. Peace.